Papa Sims believes freedom is a privilege, takes no prisoners at 100 Center Street.
What happened?
Cut the crap. Guilty or not guilty.
What's my sentence?
After one night, it gets to you. 100 Center Street. An all-new season begins October 8th on A&E.
Biography, brought to you in part by KY Brand. From A&E, this is Biography. For September 6, 2001, Biography with Harry Smith.
This is TVography Week, our look at 5 classic television programs. Tonight, The Love Boat. There was a time when ABC was known as the Aaron Broadcasting Company, as in Aaron Spelling, the most prolific producer in television history. He was responsible for Charlie's Angels, Fantasy Island, and many other shows heavy on style, light on substance. For The Love Boat, Spelling and his team devised an idea that would be the program's calling card. Different big-name guest stars out on a sea cruise each week. During its long voyage, The Love Boat's passenger list included celebrities from Sonny Bono to Lillian Gish, Andy Warhol to Milton Berle. And the show provided millions of viewers with a weekly escape to a floating fantasy on the high seas.
It wasn't just a boat. It was a floating love affair. A honeymoon hotel on the high seas. The Love Boat. Some thought it was destined for a watery grave.
My agent said, listen, baby, sweetheart, I'm ashamed to send you this thing. It's gonna suck.
The critic for the LA Times said, it's gonna sink like the Titanic.
But somehow it managed to stay afloat and to sail into the hearts of audiences around the world.
It's kind of everybody's wish fulfillment, taking a cruise and, you know, beautiful scenery, exotic locations.
It was the greatest job of all time.
But it wasn't all fun, games, and romance. More than once, the crew faced tragedy.
And you saw this, boom, this fireball.
Flames shot out of this taxi cab to the point where people thought it was a terrorist attack. I mean, they thought we'd been fried in there.
Yet despite the dramas, The Love Boat would be carried on a high tide of viewers for more than 9 years. In the end, it would prove all but unsinkable. The year was 1977. Disco was in. The Vietnam War was over. America was getting down. And a producer named Douglas Kramer came to ABC with a new idea for a movie. It was based on the memoirs of a real-life hostess and cruise director named Geraldine Saunders. For years, she had been writing letters home about the romantic adventures on board. Finally, she assembled them into a book. Her title, Love Boats.
I wanted to share what I had seen with people. I always feel that if everyone could go on a cruise, there wouldn't be any wars. Something beautiful happens to people when they're on cruise ships. They just feel very loving toward one another.
Many at ABC had their doubts about the seaworthiness of the concept. But newly installed president Fred Silverman had a flair for populist entertainment like Charlie's Angels, and this was one boat he felt should set sail.
When I arrived at ABC, you know, I went through their entire inventory of unproduced scripts. And one of the scripts that was just laying around, it was a project that people looked at with contempt, was a show that was called Love Boat. And I looked at this and I said, you know, this is a very, very appealing idea. We really ought to do a movie.
One young actor who had heard about the movie being cast was Fred Grandy. He had recently appeared on Maude and was looking for another hit.
My agent said, listen, baby, sweetheart, I'm ashamed to send you this thing. It's gonna suck. It's gonna go down. But you might get a trip out of it, and the cash looks pretty good. So get a blazer, get a white shirt, go over to Paramount, do this, do that. You'll probably get it because nobody else wants to do this. So you know, my blessing. And that was my original exposure to Love Boat.
Grandy would audition for the role of Gopher the Purser. Not exactly a Cary Grant type, but he was used to that.
I was usually playing the cute young guy, the amiable cut-up, the well-meaning doofus, the guy who got the chimp and not the girl. I mean, that was the kind of thing that I did.
Grandy got the part and appeared in 2 of the Love Boat pilot movies. In another pilot, TV veteran Dick Van Patten played the ship's doctor.
So we casted and did one, and we had a totally wrong cast. But put it on the air and it did a 50 share, which was pretty good. So we did, nobody believed the number because everybody hated the show.
So the network set about tinkering with the cast. Fred Grandy remained, but Dick Van Patten jumped ship to star in 8 is Enough. Bernie Kopell, known to TV audiences from Get Smart and That Girl, auditioned to replace Van Patten as the ship's doctor.
I had a navy blazer, beautiful navy blazer with brass buttons. I said, boy, does this look nautical. And I went over my lines and I said, oh, it's going to be on tape. I knew that. And I was coming out of my test and I felt, gee, I nailed it. I felt so good. Another actor, I'm coming out, he didn't know what I was there for, and he says, what a beautiful blazer. He says, I'm gonna test for the part of the doctor. Can I use your blazer? And I had that moment where you're supposed to be, you know, generosity of spirit and all that, and I said, no, it's my jacket.
The Don Juan with a little black bag and a little black book.
He chased married ladies, he chased unmarried ladies. The guy knew no limits, but with a certain amount of charm or whatever kind of a thing comes along with being a doctor. He said, just take your clothes off, please, I'll be right in. The guy got away with murder.
Ted Lange from the sitcom That's My Mama was approached for the role of Isaac Washington.
My agent says, you know, look, they want you to do this thing. I said, Arnie, I said, Arnie, there's nothing here. What are you talking about? There's nothing here for me to do. And I was up and coming. I felt I was, you know, God's gift to the theatrical world. So I said, I'm not doing it. This is, you know, this isn't anything. There's nothing here for me to do. I say a couple of lines, and that's it. Why even do this? And so my agent said, well, look, have you ever been on a cruise? I said, no. He says, has your girlfriend ever been on a cruise? I said, no, I don't think so. He says, have you ever been to Mexico? No. He said, well, look, why don't you look at it as a vacation? You get to go to Mexico on a cruise, take your girlfriend. You don't have to do any work. You got a scene here, a scene there. You're not going to have to be worrying about working. Just think of it as a paid vacation. Hey, that's a good idea.
And so Lange was cast as the bartender Isaac, who had a way with a margarita, if not with the ladies.
Who is the character? He's just a guy. He's a very lucky guy, single guy, who couldn't hold a woman, very simply. If you look at the shows, that's basically what it's about. He's a nice guy that always finished last. That was Isaac Washington.
But there was still one key element missing. For what is a ship without a captain? They turned to an actor known to millions as the lovable curmudgeon Murray from The Mary Tyler Moore Show.
My agent called and he says, Aaron Spelling wants you to do this Love Boat. He says, I think the thing sucks. You want to read it? I said, sure, I'll read it, you know. I didn't find anything else in the other ones, and so I took it with me down to Palm Springs. My wife and I, we had a house down there, and I read it, and I said, you know, I think this has got a potential. This could really go.
Gavin MacLeod was cast as Captain Merrill Steubing, a fatherly figure, warm yet domineering. He ran a tight ship. The crew was almost in place. All they needed was a cruise director. But ironically, as the producers counted down to the first day of the shoot, the very part that had launched the series was proving hard to cast.
The funny story about that is Aaron Spelling's wife, Candy, had seen Lauren in some TV thing the night before we were ready to shoot. And they contacted Tweeze's agent and signed her up. And so she was just new to the whole thing.
Lauren Tweeze joined on as Julie. A little blonde bundle of pep and charm, she came equipped with a clipboard and a megawatt smile. Almost as soon as the cast was assembled, it began to gel.
The chemistry of the people caught on, and I can't give you a reason why, but I mean, Gavin, I think, as the leader of the group, exuded some kind of spirit, and I think that the other people caught on to that and reacted to it.
The shooting began in August of 1977, but the cast and even the producers had their doubts about the material. They all had the sneaking suspicion they had signed on for a ship of fools.
I wasn't terribly thrilled or excited about it, to be honest. I didn't know if it would work or not, but it intrigued me to do it on location in different parts of the world, hopefully, and I went along with it.
At the network, the executives had even more qualms. Everyone except Fred Silverman.
Love Boat was an escapist fare. It's kind of everybody's wish fulfillment, taking a cruise, and it's, you know, beautiful scenery, exotic locations, you know, led me to say we ought to put these on the air.
In September of 1977, the Love Boat was launched, put up against the much-beloved ratings powerhouse, The Carol Burnett Show.
So we put it on in the worst time period in television, 10 o'clock Saturday night, and it went on, and it got a 40 share. And then we knew we had a hit there.
I was skeptical. I didn't think this thing was going to go anywhere, but miraculously, all of a sudden, this thing became a very popular show very quickly.
Nobody had a feeling it was going to be a hit when we put on the first movie, which did a 50 share, and the second, and the third, and the fourth. I think to this day there are people that were at ABC at that point that still won't acknowledge the fact that it was a big hit.
Oh, you can't go out there, sir. They'll find you. I've got a ship to run, rounds to make. I can't stay in here forever.
I've got it. Sir, you will make your rounds. Take off your clothes.
Much to everyone's surprise, the Love Boat sailed right into the hearts of the viewing audience. The critics wouldn't be so receptive.
What's one of the reasons a relationship lasts?
Discover a new world of intimacy with KY Liquid Lubricant. Smoother thanks to its hydro-liquid formula.
He says I have a very agile mind.
KY Liquid, the #1 doctor-recommended brand.
Pepperidge Farm Sausalito cookies. Mounds of chocolate and macadamia nuts. Hey, if you're gonna have a cookie, have a cookie. Pepperidge Farm. Never have an ordinary day.
Rain, stop. Traffic, you. CD, play. Climate control, on.
The Infinity Q45 with voice-activated controls.
Lights, green.
The rest of the world should be so accommodating. The new Q from Infinity.
Dr. Scholl's at Doral. Hey guys, I'm here to find out what's causing your foot problems.
She's got arthritis.
He's got diabetes, and we're a total mess. Sometimes I could barely play 18.
Our new Dr. Scholl's Stepwell insoles can help.
Feels soft.
That's our dual-layer Sense-A-Care foam. It more evenly distributes your foot pressure as you walk. The Deep Heel Cup is designed to stabilize and support your foot and ankle.
With diabetes, anything that helps your feet is a good thing.
It'll help me play with these achy joints.
Now, if you could just fix each other's slice, you'd be in good shape. Treat yourself right with new Dr. Scholl's Stepwell insoles.
Now A&E's got a super combo special better than you get at the cinemas in Bio and a Movie. It was a comedy hit with a feminist point of view. But how would the show survive? She was in charge. That girl on an all-new biography. From comedic smash to a hard-hitting mystery where killer instinct is survival. Joe Mantegna, Walking Shadow. It's television fit for the big screen on Bio and a Movie tomorrow on A&E.
Every family has a story. To discover yours, visit genealogy.com. At genealogy.com, you can find ancestors. Build a family tree.
You're cleaning that up, you know.
I know.
And learn more about your family's unique story.
Honey, look at this. Your great-great-aunt was Annie Oakley.
Who's that?
She was really cool.
Log on to genealogy.com. Your family story is waiting.
I believe no one who asks for help should be turned away.
I believe it's good to question.
None of us are qualified to judge the lives of others.
I believe a church isn't a building.
When you truly embrace diversity, you embrace God.
I can't believe there's a church that believes these things.
We may not all believe exactly the same thing, but the people of the United Methodist Church believe in God
and each other. If you're searching for something to believe in, our hearts, our minds, and our doors are always open.
You are watching The Love Boat, part of TVography Week on Biography.
The Love Boat was a hit, but to many critics, it seemed as if television itself had sprung a leak.
They said, how could you do this? How could you do this after the Mary Tyler Moore Show? So in my kind of naivete, I said, I think it's going to be a hit. That's why I took it.
The TV critic of the LA Times said, it's going to sink like the Titanic. And at the same time, the ratings come out, and you're number 2, you're number 1, you're number 3. People love the show.
I think it clicked because it appealed to all ranges of the audience. I think that there was something for the young people, there was something for older people.
We were selling beautiful women in bikinis. Who doesn't want to see that?
It was the Aaron Spelling formula: high gloss, good-looking bodies, a touch of humor, and just enough plot to keep the whole confection moving.
Gopher? Gopher, what are you doing?
I'm impersonating the captain.
You could go to jail for impersonating an officer.
I could get killed for impersonating an officer.
Aaron Spelling had built a career on this glitzy style. First as an actor in the 1950s, then as the producer of high-concept shows, from the Mod Squad to Charlie's Angels. But of all those programs, The Love Boat was the epitome of Spelling's flash and polish. And in its way, it seemed perfectly in touch with the times. The swinging 70s. The beautiful people were partying at Studio 54. Celebrities had designer clothes and designer drugs. The sexual revolution was in full swing. And even the president admitted to lusting in his heart. On The Love Boat, the main question was always, who would end up sharing a stateroom with whom?
Some people call it the sex barge. I remember I had an extraordinarily sexy episode with Juliet Prowse. We had scenes in bed. We had very suggestive conversation. That was sexy.
Yet risque as it might have been, by the time The Love Boat reached port each week, there was something innocent, even wholesome about the journey. What started out as titillating became something very different.
Nobody ever conceived of this thing as a family hit. We thought this was going to be a kind of naughty show that would be talked about and whispered about and daring in a kind of way. But it very quickly became, you know, Little House on the Mediterranean.
You didn't do sex in those days. I mean, this was 1976, and you couldn't even say the word. So I think we did imply that people might have slept with each other, but we never showed it.
It was mischievous, but it was never naughty. There was always an underpinning of kind of home, hearth, family, and morality, that love means more than just a stateroom and a do not disturb sign.
I had the responsibility from the program standards department at the network to make sure that not too much showed, so that every time we cast a Barbie Benton or somebody like that, I had to go to wardrobe. I had to, you understand, and check the bikini and to make sure that it wasn't showing too much.
What set the show apart wasn't just the bikinis, but the surprising parade of guest stars. TV personalities, Broadway legends, stars of the silver screen, they all found their way aboard the big ship.
You know, we started out, the guest stars were pretty much from the repertoire of ABC hits and NBC shows and CBS shows.
Programs from MASH to Happy Days provided a pool of talent that was almost a stock company for the show.
Then it was just a kid on a boat, hanging off the edge, trying not to fall in, and, you know, being afraid to kiss Christy McNichol. Because it was my first kiss, and how do I kiss her? Do I open my mouth? Do I not open my mouth? How do I kiss her?
Did you ever kiss anybody before? Have you? No.
Then after we kissed, you and I had these big makeout sessions all over the boat. So it was funny.
You know, lots of kissing and stuff. You know, which I was used to kissing one guy, you know, on Happy Days, so that was quite different.
It was really fun to do the show. Everybody in the cast was great.
And Ricky Nelson was on the show. Ricky Nelson. I mean, it was like, you know, it was like Hollywood personified. You don't go to Hollywood and Vine anymore. You go to the Love Boat if you can get there.
And then, as the show began to grow, the Love Boat welcomed aboard the old stars of stage and screen. A living history of show business. Everyone from Debbie Reynolds and Gene Kelly to Lana Turner.
A lot of reviewers said, oh, the old B-stars. Are you kidding me? Sir John Mills is a B-star. Vincent Price is a B-star. Joan Blondell, de Havilland, and I mean, you go on and on and on.
To me, Ethel Merman, who played my mother on this show, is not a person in show business. She's a temple. You go worship there. And to get to know her beyond sitting in a mezzanine and watching her sing, well, who can even measure what that gift is like?
I mean, Ginger Rogers comes over to you and says, you know, I think you're absolutely wonderful on this show. Whoa. You know, I mean, gee, you know, it was fun.
One of my favorite shows ever was a show we did called The Love Boat Follies with Ethel Merman, Carol Channing, Della Reese, Ann Miller. Come on, you could stop there. But you had Van Johnson and Cab Calloway, too.
A new breed of stars also came of age on the Love Boat. From Heather Locklear and Billy Crystal to Robin Williams and Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks, well, I came on the show, he was a little cocker-pisher at the time. Tom Hanks looked about 14. He had done Bosom Buddies. And I think he came on and he said something about, hey, gopher, or something. I said, oh, look at that. And he's got all that hair out to here. And who knew at the time that Tom Hanks would be this gigantic figure.
And the range of guest stars got more and more outrageous. It was like a variety show on the high seas.
With Temptations, Hulk Hogan, and Andrew Warhol. I think on the same show. Come on. Who said the Ed Sullivan Show's over? I mean, come on.
With all these stars on board, the regular cast always knew its place.
I think one of the things that made it work is that there was always an understanding, implicit and explicit, that the star of the show was the boat and the guests that came on it. And we were high-paid and very competent footmen, foot people, but that we served them. So the ability for egos to kind of rise beyond the boiling point and say, you know, this is so wrong. I mean, here I am standing in the background behind Helen Hayes and Maurice Evans, and this scene should be about me. That never happened.
For cast and guest stars alike, the thing that made appearing on the Love Boat so special was that it wasn't just an acting job, it was a lifestyle. Although most of the show was shot on sound stages, there was, in fact, a real boat that really went on trips up and down the Pacific coast and all around the planet. The actors ended up traveling the globe and traveling in style.
We'd find the prettiest guest star on the show. We'd find out what day she wasn't working, and then we would kidnap her and take her with us, and then we'd go off on an adventure. Whatever happened, happened.
If you took advantage of this world tour that we were on, it was great. I mean, it was like having your retirement when you were 35 years old and saying, we're going to give you your pension first and then your job.
I loved doing Love Boat. I realized it was not the greatest career move in the world, having come off some pretty good shows and having won Emmys and whatnot. But I loved it. I was never treated better.
Whenever we would go out on a cruise, you didn't go out on, you didn't drive to the ship, you were limoed to the ship.
Everybody was allowed to bring one person, you know, a guest, and it was great fun. It seemed like the actors that were hired, everybody was glad to be there.
Carnival lines didn't exist when the Love Boat started. There was no Kmart cruising then. It was all upscale, it was all fabulous, it was all great.
Some of these people from movies were absolutely fabulous. They did, I mean, they knew how to do their work, but at nighttime, they could party. I mean, these young kids today think they don't know diddly from partying. Woo!
But it was just, you know, friendships and that ability to kind of bond very quickly when you're traveling to these other ports of call, which, of course, is what the show was about.
Hi. What's your favorite thing around here? Susie.
I mean, it actually happened. We could be apostles for this show because this stuff really happened.
We're just a couple of empty nesters.
Discover a new world of intimacy with KY Liquid Lubricant. Smoother thanks to its hydro liquid formula.
Just the two of us. In an empty house.
KY Liquid, the #1 doctor-recommended brand.
For more information on New York Life, see the latest issue of Biography magazine. Every life has a story. New York Life. Financial strength, integrity, humanity. These are the values that make New York Life the company you keep.
What does the future hold? What will it look like? How will it feel? At New York Life, we are confident that whatever tomorrow brings, our values will remain steadfast. The financial strength of our products, the integrity and humanity of our company. So no matter what it looks like, tomorrow, like today, New York Life will be the company you keep.
On the next Biography special, from his button-down mind to the comedy genius behind 2 hit series,
He just makes it look so easy.
to a secret the audience never knew.
Bob was not comfortable doing love scenes.
Bob Newhart, The Last Sane Man, a 2-hour biography special, Sunday at 8, 7 Central on A&E.
It offers 4 tons of hauling capacity, has 3 rows of seating, and most amazingly, is quite easy to carry. Announcing 0% financing on every single 2001 Lincoln, low lease rates, and Lincoln will even make your first payment. Navigator from Lincoln.
Hey, look, a tour. Should we do it? Yeah. Okay. Do you need film? No, I'm okay.
New Max Versatility Plus is Kodak's most versatile film ever. It even works in fast action. While other films may blur, you get crystal clear pictures more often with Versatility Plus.
I should have tried your Kodak film.
The Love Boat was a hit in the United States, but for the cast and crew, one of the best perks was the affection they received in ports all across the world.
I thought we could apply for UN membership. I mean, I was astonished. We would get to Turkey, and a bunch of us were in a little shop in this little village, and all of a sudden, I hear outside the door, "Mr. Gopher is here!" And I turn around, and there's like 40 people with their faces pressed against the window. "Yes, that is him. That is Mr. Gopher." And it was like that for the whole trip.
Because of the popularity, we became goodwill ambassadors for the United States. When we went to Israel, 4 of us got in a car and they started to rock this car. I said, now I know what it feels like to be a Beatle.
In the 82 countries or so that picked the show up, it really did not make any difference what your language was, because what you were speaking in was the vernacular of romance.
And this idiom of the heart spoke to people around the globe. A little love boat became a battleship in the ratings, pulling in a 40 share. And when Fantasy Island was added to ABC's Saturday lineup, the potent combination of romance and fantasy pushed Carol Burnett right off the air. The programs weren't exactly high art, but for a nation of TV-holics, they were a guilty pleasure.
Love Boat was a hell of a show. For what it was and what it tried to be and what it ended up being, was a good show, a very good show. Because it was what it was. It didn't hold itself up to be the Shakespeare of television. It held itself up to be good fluff.
Mr. and Mrs. What's this?
Marmalade, sir.
Mr. and Mrs. Marmalade.
No, it's just plain marmalade. I was going over the list at breakfast. Here's a copy of the weather report, sir.
Thank you. Southwesterly winds, 5 knots, light seas, and a possible increase in
maple syrup.
At that point in time, coming off of the reality programs like All in the Family and Maude and, you know, where, you know, you're really dealing with the real world, this represented a totally different approach.
Aaron Spelling was very clear about it. It is not, we're not trying to educate people. We're not trying to do anything but entertain people. Some people called it mind candy. That's all right. We didn't pretend to be anything more important than we were.
In the midst of this success, even as the show was picking up steam, a few new cast members signed on. 11-year-old Jill Whelan came aboard as Captain Stubing's daughter, Vicky.
Thank God I was so young, because I think at my age now, I don't know if I could handle what a big deal that was back then. But, you know, as a kid, oh, great, all right, this will be fun.
That's what love does to you. I'd rather have the measles.
And I had never been anywhere before, so this was my first chance to travel. Not only travel, but I mean travel first class, have dinner with princes and government officials. It's a way to go.
I felt very, very paternal towards her because she was only 11, you know, and so dear. And we had, I think, some of the most tender scenes the captain was ever allowed to have.
It was a very smart idea on the part of the writers to bring her in, to show his affection for her and his relationship with her and the problem of having a child on the ship. But it also, I'm sure, was to help satisfy the younger audience because she represented the young kids.
I mean, I suppose it was probably a lot of pressure to grow up in front of camera. I think my first kiss might have happened on camera before it actually happened for me. So that was kind of an odd thing. And plus, I mean, when that started happening, I was going through puberty and, you know, the pudginess of being a kid going through that awkward stage.
Ted McGinley also joined the crew as the ship's photographer.
While I was on Happy Days, I think I did like 2 or 3 guest spots on the Love Boat. And every time I went over there, there was just a good energy and a great vibe, and I thought, oh, this is fun, you know. And they were looking to add a new character, and when Happy Days ended, they said, hey, are you interested in coming over and playing the ship's photographer?
Ted McGinley, well, too bad about his looks, isn't it? Poor guy. Wherever Ted went, he's like, you know, how to disappear, walk anywhere with Ted McGinley. Handsome, sweet, funny, good athlete, good tennis player, good water polo player. Never want to see him again.
The new cast members got right into the spirit of the show.
Gavin's supposed to be angry at us, and he's telling us off. And somehow he was supposed to slap all of us down the line. And they started with Bernie each time. And Bernie had this thing where Bernie would laugh constantly. So they used to give him a nail that he had to put in his hand. He'd have to squeeze the nail. And whoever it was, and I can't remember who it was, would slap him. And Bernie started to laugh. Like the first 3 times, he just couldn't stop laughing. So by the time they got to the rest of us, Bernie had been hit like 50 times. And it wasn't funny to him anymore, but we couldn't stop laughing.
The crew wasn't always laughing, because it wasn't always smooth sailing for the Love Boat. On one trip up the Pacific coast, the sky began to get dark.
Once we sailed up to Alaska and we left from San Francisco, in about a day out, we hit 60-mile-an-hour winds and 30-foot swells.
Everyone was sick. The ship's company was sick. We were all, I mean, crawling on the floor. I mean, somebody gave advice over the loudspeaker. Get some biscuits. Get something who can move. You couldn't move to get biscuits or anything else.
The windows in the dining area in the front of the ship were smashed, and water came into the ship.
Literally, people were lying around the ship, and the guys that were normally the waiters were carrying around sickness bags and just placing them where you had fallen. This is not something that the PR department wanted a lot of people to know about, and Aaron and Doug said to the writing staff, don't even think about it. By the time we got into Vancouver a day late because of this. It was not quite the same convivial, cocktail-sipping, confetti-throwing crowd that had left San Francisco.
As the Love Boat sailed the 7 seas, there would be other dangers. other icebergs lurking in its path.
This is how your votes stand for Viewers' Choice Saturday. You still have time to vote at Biography.com.
Not only can we handle more of these stains than this leading powder, Whisk tablets can handle more grass stains too. Whisk tablets, anyone?
What's one of the reasons a relationship lasts?
Discover a new world of intimacy with KY Liquid Lubricant. Smoother thanks to its hydro liquid formula.
He says I have a very agile mind.
KY Liquid, the #1 doctor-recommended brand.
With the peace of mind you'll get from the Lexus of warranties. Owning a certified pre-owned Lexus feels just like owning a new Lexus.
Honey?
Yeah?
Did you get the milk?
Don't be surprised if you treat it like one. Certified pre-owned vehicles only at your Lexus dealer.
Back to school's the perfect time to get America Online.
It's the ultimate school supply.
AOL is always there to help me.
It's almost like having a homework buddy right there. Keep in touch with my friends when I go away to school.
Instant messages are amazing.
Cool way to communicate.
AOL helps my kids get ready for school. It's really, really fast.
Good deals on a lot of school supplies.
Sweaters, skirts, pants, and computers. I let my mom handle school supplies.
Mother of the Year, right here.
Back to school time is the perfect time to experience America Online. So easy to use, no wonder it's #1. Call 1-800-4ONLINE.
Well, we've been a band for about 4 years now, but we've been a family for over 16 years. We've got pictures just from like when we very first started, you know. This was our first county fair. We take our pictures into Walmart because usually we're there anyway.
We just drop off the film and we go shopping.
I like this picture of Katie right here. Can you guys close up on that?
At Walmart.
Their quality is great and the price is right.
It's definitely fun to see how the kids have changed. They've grown so much, and it's good that we have that in pictures.
Every Saturday in September, one click will pick the biography you want to watch. So log on to biography.com. Choose a wise guy, a country singer, a rock star, and call the shots. Viewers' Choice Saturdays on Biography. Saturdays in September on A&E.
When you need to insure your home and your car, let the Auto Club help you save big on all your insurance. Insure both your car and your home through AAA for extra savings on both policies. And lots of other great discounts too. You could save hundreds of dollars on all your coverage. And you'll get great Auto Club service with our 24-hour claims hotline. Call now to get our low rates and outstanding service, even if you've had tickets or accidents. So if you live in one of these and drive one of these, start saving now with one of these. Call 1-800-559-3379 for your free auto, homeowners, or renters quotes today. Call 1-800-559-3379 or stop by your nearest Auto Club office for fast, easy quotes and savings on all your insurance through AAA. Another way, we're always with you.
In 1982, on a Love Boat cruise to Turkey, disaster struck.
We were at a party that I was thrown by the embassy or the U.S. consulate there, and a bunch of us decided to get in a cab and go back to the ship, and we took all of our party balloons with us. Now, normally this is not a big deal because party balloons are filled with helium, except in Turkey where they're filled with hydrogen. And I don't know why that is. Maybe they expect the Greeks to attack every minute and they want to have their weapons ready. But in any event, flames shot out of this taxi cab to the point where people thought it was a terrorist attack. I mean, they thought we'd been fried in there.
A cigarette had ignited the hydrogen. Ted, Lauren, Fred, and 2 others had found themselves trapped in their blazing car.
And I was outside the car, and it was terrifying. because the windows were partially opened and you saw a, I knew that they were in there with the driver, and you saw this, boom, this fireball come out of the car, and you have that moment. Are they alive? Have they died in there? Are they? What's going on?
After a while, things calmed down. We got back to the boat, and I walked in to check on Fred, and I didn't want him to see my face. He was hurt. He was really hurt.
And I burned most of the skin off my hands and face and went into a kind of shock and had a pretty serious experience. It really reconfigured my whole life. It burned all the skin off my hands, all the skin off my face. My hands now are about 30 years younger than I am, which is great because I spend no money on lotion. But it also kind of got me thinking about what I wanted to do post-Love Boat and whether or not I wanted to serve something a little larger than myself, and whether or not I wanted to be on that normal celebrity track of going from Third Banana to Second Banana to my own show to rehab.
The scars would heal, but Fred Grandy was now a changed man. He set his sights on a different horizon.
And that's what really propelled me, somewhat naively, to go back home and say, well, I'm going to run for Congress because Iowa needs somebody to speak up for them. They're getting hammered in this agricultural crisis, and what they need is Gopher from the Love Boat, who was trained for this job by chasing blondes around the Lido deck, and it's going to go and switch from the short pants to bib overhauls, and this will be an effortless transition.
And the guy said, oh, in that case, I'll take a piece of that.
And so, in the spring of 1984, Fred Grandy decided to leave the Love Boat and begin a new life.
It was a very big tear for me and for everybody else when Fred was no longer one of our ensemble in the last year.
I was so upset when he left because he was such a big part. And I felt there was such a hole there when he wasn't there anymore. And I know everybody else did too. Ted Lange was very close to Fred, and so was Bernie, and we all felt it. We missed him.
It was one thing to leave the show. It was another to get elected, to make the leap from Gopher the Purser to Fred Grandy the Congressman. In a way, it was the goodwill Grandy had built up with the viewing audience over the years that served him well.
Gopher was able to get him into the tent. Fred Grandy was able to get him to the polling place. Somebody once asked me, he said, well, you're just like Ronald Reagan, aren't you? I said, hey, listen, I serve with Ronald Reagan. He's the president. I can tell you, I am not Ronald Reagan. He was never on a hit.
That November, Fred Grandy would win a seat in Congress, serving Iowa's 5th Congressional District. His new scripts skipped the punchlines.
Mr. Speaker, it is terribly important that in the last moments of this debate, we do not reduce this magnificent exercise in free speech to some kind of inarticulate, indecisive mumble.
He would go on to serve 4 terms in all and helped draft the Americans with Disabilities Act. Even as Grandy's new career was taking off, the Love Boat was running into choppy waters. Not long after Grandy's accident, another problem with the cast had become apparent.
Lauren was difficult. Lauren was at a stage in her life where she was using things she shouldn't have used. So she and I didn't get along very well because she didn't know who I was half the time.
Hollywood, it can be a rough gig. I mean, people think it's easy. There are a lot of ancillary things that have nothing to do with you standing on a stage saying your lines. So there's a lot of different ways to cope with things, and some people choose drugs, alcohol.
I can remember one night in particular, we were shooting late, and I was trying to push the cast to get finished, to get this scene done so that we could get out without getting into a penalty for the crew. And I made the mistake of saying to Lauren, I said, okay, honey, come on, get in here and finish this damn thing, And she said, don't you call me honey, never call me honey, and she took off. And she had never, ever done that with me because we were always friendly enough that she shared some of her, more intimate feelings about what was going on with me. And that was a totally off-base kind of thing to happen. And I think I got the idea at that point something was wrong.
The situation continued to deteriorate. The show's producers realized the time had come to ask Tweez to leave the show.
You know, we all go through things in life, and she went through hers. I went through mine. Everybody goes through something. Unfortunately, sometimes you do it on the television, you know, in front of the world, and people want to maybe not look at the best in folks.
As far as my feelings about it, my respect for her has only grown, because really, when that happened, she had pretty much licked her bout with drugs and now was paying the penalty. And of course, if you know about her, she has gone on to I think, single-handedly become one of the most effective spokespeople for Lou Gehrig's disease and the consequences of that. So, I mean, she has grown enormously.
It wasn't just personal problems rocking the boat. The main issue was the ratings. By 1985, after 8 seasons on the air, the TV landscape had begun to change. Fantasy and romance were out. Sophisticated, realistic dramas were in, and the TV audience was abandoning ship.
It was expensive because you're on a boat. It had very lavish production, wall-to-wall music.
If you went to a foreign country, every shot had to be from the highest, the lowest, the prettiest. Otherwise, why go anywhere? So, you know, we had grips hanging off the side of ships with, you know, their shiny boards and whatnot.
The cast could tell which way the wind was blowing.
Fred left. The show is changing, and you just get a sense that it's time, sometimes it's just time to put things to rest.
Because I'd been working steadily since I was 9 years old and I was 19. And I needed a break. And frankly, I needed to be a kid. And I kind of missed out on that a little bit.
I knew pretty clearly that we were on a downward slide when the producers brought in the mermaids.
They weren't the Rockettes, but the producers hoped the dancing mermaids could boost ratings.
Traditionally, when a show gets into ratings trouble, the producer's trying to do something, and the network suggests, let's do something to stimulate new interest. Let's, and they go for a marriage, they go for a baby, they go for something. Let's bring on the mermaids.
All the flashy stunts couldn't cover up the fact that the end was near.
By the time the thing went off, it had gone from being this kind of grand hotel on the high seas to a Ramada Inn in a pond somewhere.
Our job, helping people's feet. This rebar is bouncy stuff.
I hate walking on rebar.
It's like a fire burning in your feet.
Our Dr. Scholl's Advantage Work insole has the advanced force line energy return system.
It's futuristic.
It's clinically proven to relieve foot and lower back pain.
Feels good. Got a lot more pep in my step.
We're just a couple of empty nesters.
Discover a new world of intimacy with KY Liquid Lubricant. Smoother thanks to its hydro-liquid formula.
Just the two of us. In an empty house.
KY Liquid, the #1 doctor-recommended brand.
Hello? Hello?
The power of cheese.
Now you can subscribe to Biography magazine for almost 50% off the newsstand price. 12 issues for only $19.97. Call 1-800-901-2233 to order Biography magazine.
Experience the all-new X-Type at your local Jaguar retailer today.
To understand the present, investigate the past. At New York Life, you'll find values, financial strength in our products, humanity and integrity in all we do. Values that have served us through war, depression, and times of prosperity. That we don't see these values changing, ever, is why New York Life is the company you keep.
In September 1986, the final episode aired, and the Love Boat pulled into port once and for all. The last cocktail had been served on the Lido deck, the last kiss stolen up on the bridge. It was the end of a TV era, the era of romance on the high seas, but even after the show died, it continued to live on in the most remarkable ways.
The cruise industry owes Doug Kramer and Aaron Spelling a lot because their business was never, ever as successful as it became with the Love Boat.
Princess Cruise Lines hired Gavin MacLeod to be their spokesman.
Before the Love Boat, Princess Cruises had 2 ships, 600 passengers each. Now we have 10 ships. The largest one has 3,000 passengers, 1,000 people to serve you on that ship.
The program's other legacy was its loyal fan base. For the true fans, and there were millions, it was as if the show never went away, as if in some distant harbor, in Acapulco or Puerto Vallarta, Gopher and the captain were just getting ready to welcome a new set of passengers. There were Love Boat launches, Love Boat reunions, even Love Boat lookalikes. Rick Portez knows all about it. He created loveboat.com.
I went to my wife, Dory, one day, and I said, I'm going to start a website on the Love Boat. And she went, yikes, why? And I created one page, learned how to stick up all the keywords on the search engines, and within about a month, I had hundreds of people emailing me, giving me information. So I just started compiling it and compiling it. And it has grown to about 100 pages. And I averaged 10, 12,000 hits a day on this thing. There's quite a underground current of collectibles, from puzzles, board games, puffy stickers. You can't believe how much stuff was produced when this show was running from 1977 to 1986.
It's a fan base that reaches across the oceans and around the world. And even to this day, the Love Boat is still sailing on many foreign TV networks.
In many ways, the show was a bigger hit in the third world than it was in the first. Now, there were some notable exceptions. It never caught on in Great Britain. The Japanese, the show was called Rabuboto, and it went to a watery grave, I think, within the first season. They loved Dallas, they hated Love Boat. Go figure that out. But everywhere else, I mean, it was in Greece, it was called, I think, Toplio tis Agapis, which means the I love you ship. And it was a big hit in Egypt, it was a big hit in France, Italy, it was a great hit. And I still will get, you know, the $14 residual every couple of years from Zimbabwe. So I know it's running somewhere.
The Love Boat was all over the world, and it's still, we haven't made those shows since 1986, ours, the first one, and we're still in 95 countries.
You didn't really have to speak English to understand what was going on. I remember watching the show in Hong Kong and seeing my character dubbed into Chinese, and there was no English subtitle. I said, I got every bit of it.
My friends, I can go to 98 countries still, and because of Aaron Spelling, get a good table in any restaurant in 98 countries.
And though the crew weathered a few stormy seas, they can say the voyage was a good one.
And there have been some stories about scandals and so forth, but for the most part, every member of that cast did something that doesn't always happen on a television series, is we migrated to adulthood fairly successfully. You don't always see that in TV. You get your success very early, you crash and burn, you don't recover, you blame the business for not really understanding you. None of us, I think, sat around grousing that Aaron Spelling didn't understand that we really should be doing King Lear and not this, because I think we probably knew we were damn lucky to be doing this.
Fred Grandy served as the president of Goodwill Industries. Bernie Coppell is a proud new father. Ted Lange is writing and directing plays. And Jill Whelan and Ted McGinley are both still working in television.
My dad loved Fonzie and that era and that character. He said, I knew that guy. And so they loved that show. And when I went on to The Love Boat, it was also very all-American, ABC, yada, yada. And they loved that show. And when I went on to Married with Children, it was like, oh my God, you know, I had eaten the Antichrist.
A new Love Boat was launched in 1998 with Robert Urich as the captain, but it lacked the magic of the original and was soon canceled. In the end, The Love Boat never won an Emmy or the praise of the critics, but it did win the hearts of millions of viewers. And for them, the ship sails on, a ship of romance, a ship of dreams.
The Love Boat was a show for, as Aaron said, for the ordinary person. We wanted to appeal to the person who maybe couldn't afford the cruise. Here's a story. The show was over for 10 years. It's over. So I come, my wife, and I always have an apartment in New York. I come to the apartment in New York. I go to the cleaners. There's a new girl in the cleaners. She says, "Aren't you the captain?" I said, "Well, I used to be, but it's not to be." She says, "Why is that show isn't on anymore?" I said, "Well, it's not on because somebody else bought the network and they didn't want to keep it. Too expensive, whatever. They didn't want to keep it." She said, "But you have to talk to somebody." I said, "What about?" She says, "You got to tell them to put it back on." I said, "That would be very nice." I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because it gave me something to dream about."
There have been various books about The Love Boat and its cast, but none like the one written by the skipper himself. The year after the program went off the air, Gavin MacLeod released his book called Back on Course, a personal account of his battle with alcoholism. Gavin and his wife, Patty, now have their own talk show on a Christian television network where they discuss religion and relationships. Gavin MacLeod and the rest of the Love Boat cast may have felt a twinge of nostalgia last night. It was exactly 15 years since the final episode aired on ABC, and the Love Boat sailed into reruns. Tomorrow on Biography, That Girl, the singular show about a single woman in the big city. That Girl, when TVography Week continues on Friday. For Biography, I'm Harry Smith. I'll see you then.
Pepperidge Farm Milano cookies. Rich chocolate, exquisite cookies. Sharing is overrated. Pepperidge Farm, never have an ordinary day.
What's one of the reasons our relationship lasts?
Discover a new world of intimacy with KY Liquid Lubricant. Smoother thanks to its hydro-liquid formula.
He says I have a very agile mind.
KY Liquid, the #1 doctor-recommended brand.
The 260 horsepower Acura CL Type S.
When a killer strikes,
I gotta go to work now.
Columbo is quick to realize he has quite a few potential suspects. There's the super slick TV star, the chain-smoking newsman, and the producer.
Excuse me.
It's a mystery to die for. George Hamilton, Columbo, next only on A&E.
Typical car insurance agent is on the job during regular business hours. On the other hand, Geico insurance professionals are on the job 24 hours a day. Geico, a 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
I didn't want mail.
You don't have to sacrifice service to save money. Geico, a 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Hi, I'm David Orrick. How'd you like to get this $100 cordless iron absolutely free? Call this number now and try my amazingly light, incredibly powerful 8-pound Orrick XL. On your carpets, tiles, and even wood floors, this $100 cordless iron is yours. Whether you keep the Orrick XL or not, there's nothing to buy. So call 1-800-471-1453. That's 1-800-471-1453. Nothing gets by an Orrick.
Now you can subscribe to Biography magazine for almost 50% off the newsstand price. 12 issues for only $19.97. Call 1-800-901-2233 to order Biography magazine.
For the web's best bios, log on to biography.com.
A&E. Escape the...
Sitcoms, dramas, westerns, action. You're guaranteed TV satisfaction on Paul's Ultimate Fan Hour. Paul's Ultimate Fan Hour. Paul's Ultimate Fan Hour.